The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to my radio and TV show, Debi Changes Lives. I'm Debi, your certified holistic health coach. I revitalize people's lives by helping them identify the root causes of their health issues and create a custom, natural, holistic strategy to address them in the areas of mind, body, and soul. As a health coach, I'm not allowed to say that I heal, treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any diseases. I certainly make your body more efficient by reducing symptoms. You'll feel better, be more productive, and enjoy life more. Not many people have released 70 pounds, had a health transformation, and is keeping fit and trim for over a decade. I have, and I have staying power. I even became a half marathon runner at the age of 51 when I never ran my whole entire life because I had foot problems. Mindset is the key for lasting change. And as a certified holistic health coach, I do revitalize people's lives in many different areas of health and mindset. I guide them to clean, toxic-free foods and high-quality essential nutrients. My coaching is for optimizing your health, efficiently releasing weight, if needed, and enhancing your mindset. You'll see and feel the differences with my coaching programs. Ask me about my programs on my complimentary consultation button in my link tree, which is at Debi Changes Lives, DebiChangesLives, as in victory, es.com/Linktree, LINKTREE, where I'll guide you to a better, healthier life. And with my mindset coaching, I do help people remold their core beliefs, release stress, reduce emotions and entanglements from the past. And in life, everybody needs to learn how to grow, but some people get stuck in their emotional mindset. I help them recognize that fear, frustration, and doubt are low vibrational energies that will slow them down and get them stuck. Like a hot air balloon that has ballasts, I help them release their emotions so they can float up in the air to a better life. And when it comes to public speaking, the only thing I can address is really anxiety. So I do refer them out to professionals where they can help them craft their message and how to present on stage. Now, today I have Rosalyn Kahn, a multifaceted professional who's passionate about communication, education, and makes a big impact, positive impact on the world. She has over 20 years of experience as a public speaking instructor and an international motivated speaker. She has trained countless individuals to find their authentic voice and excel in their personal and professional lives. She's also a celebrated author who has penned books inspired kindness, leadership, and stress reduction. As a host and an executive producer for her TV show, Living Your Best Life, she's interviewed thought leaders and change makers from around the globe. She's committed to service and global peace, and she's earned prestigious accolades such as the Presidential Service Award and recognized as an ambassador of world peace. Today, we'll be discussing overcoming stress, anxiety, and finding your authentic voice. So let's welcome Rosalyn Kahn, a TEDx speaker, a TV host, author, and an educator. Rosalyn, welcome to my show.
Well, Debi, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be on your established show, and I'm so grateful that we could have the chance to talk in this interview.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. What inspired you to become a public speaking coach and a motivated speaker?
Well, it's interesting that you asked what inspired me to be a speaker and a coach. When I finished college, my father told me there was one thing I needed to do, and that was to join Toastmasters. And, most people go to Toastmasters and you go to the first club and you like it. Well, I went to several different clubs and they all seemed to like me. And I said, well, there's got to be a better way. And since I was in that arena, I love the art of public speaking and decided to take it to the next level. And I had a friend who invited me out to a TED event, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I sat in the audience and saw 3 to 5 speakers. I could tell you what they were about global warming, about trash in the economy, and this handicapped person who could sing. And I said, I want to be on that stage. And, once you get up there, everybody wants to learn how they too can get in that arena and how they can help people. And it's one thing teaching in the classroom, but having worked with a number of people, everybody has that ambition of being on that stage and helping them get there. And that's my story, real brief.
Well, you know what? You just jumped into it, didn't you? Looking at the TEDx stage saying, I want to be there. And you learned how to do that. That's wonderful. Now, regarding that, how did you get involved with that? I know you went there, but you also became, a TEDx speaker. And what is your advice about people that want to be on the TEDx platform?
Well, the first thing is you can't sell anything. So you can't say, I've got this great brand new book. It's called A Message for Tomorrow's Leader, and I want to get up there and sell it to the world. It's really not about that. It's going on the TED site and looking at topics that are similar to yours and saying, what's my angle? What do I have that's unique and totally different than what these other people have? You should be able to write down in a sentence what it is that you want to go ahead and say. I want to talk to people about health and healing like never before. And being able to do it with some new angle to it, some new possibility. Toastmasters is a good training ground because it gives you the art of accepting criticism and how you can take that criticism and move it to the next level and learning to speak in a shortened period of time. I'd also recommend that you get a coach, someone who's been there and who's been on that stage that can help you overcome those obstacles and creating a speech, looking at what the nonverbals are, what the visual aids that you're going to have, and how you can combine that to make the best you that's possible.
Yeah, it's great to have a coach because, you only have tunnel vision, and getting another perspective really helps. Don't you agree? Whether it's speaking or whether it's health. So
yeah, it's like, you've only got the 4 windows. We got the right corner, the left corner, and on the TED stage, you've got a little bit more. You got to look at the people in the way back, to the people who are off at the side, and then those others, and then how to use those spaces effectively. If you stand in the one position, you're like a military person just there, but you can't quite be a ballerina as well, because you got to make sure that everybody can see those motions and those gestures of what you're doing and how you make them shine.
Exactly, because that's really where you bring more attention, and they'll be more interested in watching you talk.
Exactly.
So, what are some of your TEDx topics?
Well, one of the topics I gave was coming around the curve, which was my battle with scoliosis and how I was able to overcome that. The next one that I had was breaking cultural barriers, and that was about 3 leaders in the world and how they'd overcome their obstacles. One was an Olympian from Australia who went on to go ahead and win, but his country came down against him because he stood with the African Americans who were on the stage. The other was the person who was in the bus and who stood up to the bus and had done that. And the other was a person way back long ago with Prince Richard and was running around a racetrack and put her life out there so that she could fight for women's rights. And the first one was about taking my students to the classroom and how they learned to get up and speak and not allow the obstacles to go ahead and overcome them. And they're all on my Facebook page, and you can go ahead and see them, as well as on my webpage.
Okay. Well, when it comes to the first one, how did you overcome your scoliosis problem that you had?
Well, it's interesting with scoliosis. I was in 7th grade where they had me bend down and touch my toes, and I was one of the ones that they checked out to the side. and they said, if you could go ahead and chat with us a few minutes. I went to the doctor, and how many 13-year-olds do you know that followed the instructions that their doctor gave them? Not many then, and even fewer back then.
Yes.
And so I went to the doctor, and he put me in this brace, and it squeezed as tight as you possibly could, and you couldn't take it off unless you went in the pool or took a shower. And as soon as I was able to sleep with it, they decided that the progress wasn't enough. And so I was entering my first year in high school, and they did the operation on my back. And I was in a body cast, and I was in a body cast for 6 months, and meant I was never going to be a gymnast, but I can do the splits. I can do that. But my mother was always fearful of, oh, don't go to Disneyland. You might hurt your back. You might hurt your back. We didn't pay all those thousands of dollars to have that happen. But that was the method of what they did over back when I was, 13, 15 years old. And nowadays there's exercises that you can do. And there's a book that's called Breathe, that if you press yourself against the table, you can help move your back on its own. And I heard of other people who didn't have the same impact as I did. And instead of being in a cast for 6 months, were in bed for 6 months because the operation didn't go as well as it could have been. So
that's unfortunate. That's why I like alternative approaches so much better. But you know what? They didn't have that way back when. So you went through what you went through.
Yeah, that's what was the common thing that they did way back then. But still, there are people who, there's a whole webpage. It's all about people who have scoliosis, and they're talking about there are some cases they need to do them on mine. There's an S curve and there's a C curve, and mine was an S, and it, I guess, was coming close to where the breathing and the lungs were. They had to go ahead and operate it. My first talk was called Coming Around the Curve. One of them was coming around the curve, my battle with scoliosis, and taking my students to the classroom.
Yeah. And with scoliosis, there is some things that I can offer regarding, a nutritional profile that'll make it easier, as well as recovery as well. So, reach out to me. Everyone's different because everyone has their own fingerprint of health. Now, your other topic, about, teaching your students as a public speaking instructor, what exactly was that about?
It was a very interesting escapade. I was doing that for about 20 years. And at one point I was working over 10 different schools and had 10 classes. And at the end, it was just down to 1 and 2. And, the idea of students and how the world changed is very different if you look at the population of students that's out there. But it was an interesting experience because every class is a new experience. You're teaching the same stuff, but how the students process and gather the information is entirely, totally different. I remember one of my classes I had at a place called Cypress College down in Orange County. I had one of my students in. They had sent me this image, and they said, life is like a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to go ahead and get. And She was going on to Cal State Fullerton, and they asked her where she learned her art of public speaking. And she said, well, I had this teacher at the college there, and she taught me everything I knew. And that was interesting. I had several of my students who went on to the TED stage. One year I fractured my wrist and my arm, and I came in a cast. I said, if I could come in here and learn to write with my left hand, and I'm right-handed, you too can learn the art of public speaking, and you'll go on to greatness. And in the next couple of years, my students went on to become first place winners and win all sorts of cash prizes and things like that. So it was quite amazing. I helped some students get some scholarships and things like that, and some international students who still keep in contact with me. And you never know where you might go. I was at a movie theater once, and the student came up to me that had been in one of my classes, and had a guy who was a firefighter. I was up in Sacramento, and he said, where are you, my teacher at such and such a college? I remember you from way back when. So you never know. And it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, you were talking about everyone learns in a different way. Some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people are kinesthetic. So, I'm sure you had different approaches for these people as well, too.
Right. There's a thing that they talk about in science, and it's the symbiotic relationships. And I had students practice, I handed out these sheets of the organization of the speech pattern of, there's an intro, there's a body, there's a conclusion. And just like in cells moving in vibrating, I had them stand in formation of what does the introduction have? What does the first main point have? What does the second main point? What does the third main point have? What does the conclusion have? And different people in different positions moved around. And that was a very, kinesthetic way of going ahead and doing it. And people really like that as a way to go ahead and remember it. There's writing on the board, there's the PowerPoint presentations you had, there's the interactive and things like that, getting people questions and, what's an example of this in real life, and giving people a chance to look up different meanings, go on your computer and see how many different articles you can go ahead and find up. So that is very true. They're not all auditory. Sometimes you need to give them some activity or do an activity in the book where you have them read what it is that they've read and then go ahead and write down a summary and repeat what it is that they've said, talk in groups and group work and things like that, or different ways that you engage the class to help them of different style learners.
So how do you help them find their authentic voice?
Well, I say not everybody can be like me. We've all got our own voice, and you've got to find the passion about what you really care about. So if you were in my class and you were a student and say, you really seem interested in the world of health. What is it that most people don't know about health? And how could you convey that information that would help them understand? And when you're focusing on what you're most passionate about, it's really easy to go ahead and share that information. As you were going ahead and talking about the special diet, yes, I remember there was a special diet that I needed to have because I needed to get my white blood cells up or whatever. And so I had to eat a lot of beef and liver and things like that to go ahead and increase those things that I had in my diet. So yeah, I encourage them to find their thing. And, on the first day of class, they talk about what they're passionate about, what ideas are most connected to them, and have them research and find speeches that they really are interested in.
Yeah, because when you connect to the heart, you're going to deliver with more passion about it versus in the head.
Definitely. Yeah, when you love what you're talking about, it's really easy to get engaged and to be able to share that story.
Exactly. Now, you also had a TV show, Living Your Best Life. What are some memorable experiences that you had with that show?
Well, there was this young kid, his name was Tyler Gordon, and he had painted the picture of Kamala Harris way back long ago. And he was one of the people I got to interview. I saw him here locally in LA. He was at the marketplace on Wilshire, Santa Monica, and he was in an art exhibit and actually got to go ahead and interview him. There's another young lady whose name is Kyra Persibre, and she's from Hawaii, and she was a young girl I met at a film festival and later became friends with her and got her involved in some international things. I also interviewed some politicians. There were people who were running for the sheriff's position here in Los Angeles, and got to interview some of those people who were running for the sheriff's position. Lots of people in the entertainment world. There was a gentleman by the name of Frank Graves, and he's an Emmy Award winning speaker that I interviewed and had on my show. I did some traveling, and one of the people I interviewed was an Egyptian diplomat that I went to Egypt to go ahead and interview. I had dinner with the Sri Lankan diplomat, and that was amazing, going to his home that he had in Orange County and trying all the foods that they had, and learning from his wife what a great cook she was. And there was actually a paid chef that was there, and we're still friends to this day.
Oh, how fun. Touring person's cultures and getting all those experiences, interviewing those people. That's why you became an international motivational speaker, I'm sure, as well.
Oh, definitely. Had a lot of opportunity to speak internationally. Went to England a year ago about this time and was at the Women of Heart Awards, and that was a beautiful celebration. They had 12, 14 women from around the world that was there, and engaging with them and learning their stories and what they're all about, and that was quite fun.
you kind of briefly talked about that person that you thought that that was part of the film industry, not Frank Graves or somebody else. Was there any details from that particular episode that you can share? Because I was kind of curious.
Yeah, there was Tommy Bull had a show. He sadly had passed away, and he had a TV show, and it was one of the last shows that he was on was on my television show, and it was a car show that he was a car show. It'll come to me that he was on, and that was really amazing. There was a gentleman who was from India that got a lot of ratings. That was one of the top shows. So if you go to my YouTube channel and you can look at them, you can see clips of some of their different shows that they were out. Yeah.
Yeah, but you said there's somebody that was involved in film festivals. That's what I was talking about. A gal that you talked about that did international speaking. She was part of a film festival. Do you remember that gal that you talked about earlier? I mean, if you don't, we can move on to something else. Because I know it's hard when you rattle off everything. It's like, which one did I tell you about? What did you tell us about?
Yeah, there was a lady named Lynn Tang, and Lynn Tang had an international film festival that I did some work with, and she's a TV producer.
Okay.
There's a lady named Kimberly. Kimberly and I are going to be working on an upcoming movie together. She's out of New York, and she's worked with David Lockhart, who's a film producer here in Los Angeles. There was so many different people.
I know. The interview that you did with the gal that did the film festival before you said Kimberly, was there any details about her that made her unique from that interview?
Well, one of the things that really made her unique is she'd worked on an interview that's called The Senior Entourage. That was with Ed Asner and Brian Connors.
Oh, wow.
And it was that had done a road trip, and she just had a unique personality, and the two of us got together when I was back in New York, and she's opted to have me in a film that she's doing. And that one is going ahead and coming up. She had a sister who died of a drug overdose, and so she's making this film as a tribute, and she's gone in front of Congress and so forth to get people to understand what's happening on the world of drugs and so on, and how to fight that.
Was it fentanyl?
No, it wasn't. It was before fentanyl's days. It was before fentanyl's days. But try and fight back and get people aware of what's going on and the problems of drugs that play in our world today.
It's awful these days, and fentanyl has made it even worse.
No, fentanyl is taking more and more people's lives. It's horrific.
Yeah,
really horrific.
There's so many different things, when it comes to students who pass away from this. They're trying to get away from things, and there's so many different ways you can do natural approaches so that you have less anxiety, as well as, being able to have better concentration and mental clarity that I can offer, whether it's nutritional, products or even just mindset coaching. And it's a real shame that so many people have passed away from drug overdose. Celebrities have too, as well as this fentanyl thing. It's a topic that really is hard to grasp, because it wasn't like that when we were growing up. That's for sure. Don't you agree?
No, it certainly wasn't like that when we were growing up. Very, very, very different. We actually talked to people, instead of texting people and things like that. And it's
exactly.
Like so much
exactly.
so impersonal, which reminds me that first talk that I had was called Language Comes to Life. It's about taking my students to the classroom and how the theater helps them overcome that. We had seen a movie that was called The 12 Angry Men, and my students were so ambitious that they went out and got the movie because they wanted to know what happened at the end of it. So when they saw the play, they were familiar with it, and more of it went ahead and made sense and things like that.
Yeah, and something that's done in a movie form or film form versus on the stage is completely different.
No, they cut and clip different parts at different places and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And so my son was part of APA, which is the Academy of Performing Arts at the Huntington Beach High School. And he plays the clarinet beautifully. He's actually at the University of Arizona doing 2 degrees, with music performance as well as aerospace engineering. But there was like one play that just came to my mind, Flowers for Algernon. I've read the book, and so when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is pretty. It made it more entertaining because you can see the angst in the person that was going through those procedures. And there was other shows, he actually was part of Phantom of the Opera. And
wow.
You know who came in to see Phantom of the Opera?
Who?
Michael Crawford.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, he was like this, he kind of stayed in the back and he watched the show, and he came up on stage, and he came up and said, for a high school performance, this is just as good as a Broadway show. And I have a picture of my son looking at Michael Crawford. He was like really close because he was, in the orchestra pit. And it was such a phenomenal experience of his life to experience.
Wow.
Because it wasn't, he said the actors were great. The music was fabulous. It was really polished. And so I love that my son had that experience.
That sounds wonderful. Someone must have done an excellent job on marketing to make sure that he came out for that show or something like that. They didn't just happen to show up there.
He lived nearby, and yeah. So he came to the show, and anyways, my whole point is that music performance has made my son a better public speaker, only because he was so used to being on, performing and being on the stage. So,
right. Yeah, those people who do performance are absolutely naturals. There was a student in my class who was played some instrument or something like that, and he always had the most eloquent speeches because you're used to that performance and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and people were really amazed because there were some kids. He got his Eagle Scout Award, and we had a Eagle Court, and people were really amazed. Jason's a good speaker. He spoke better than these people that did UN. It's like,
wow. No, that's a great compliment. That's a great compliment.
For someone that was kind of shy.
Wow.
So I really I cherish those days, and we actually did that Court of Honor right before the pandemic, and I remember the people because some people came in that were political officers. They said, we have to leave early for a press conference. And yeah, they were talking about that at that press conference. A few days later, it happened.
Wow. That's a great compliment to the success that you had there.
Yeah. So we, I just, he had, a great high school life, except for the last few years. I'm sorry. But I'm sure you saw a difference with, during the pandemic with education being online. Were you part of that?
Oh my gosh. I remember very clearly. I was taking some classes. I was taking a law class, and students came in and said, they're shutting down the school. And I'm like, what? Like, we're all going online. And they told us they were shutting down the school for a week. And I gave my students this interesting assignment, and I thought it was really unique. And I had them go and create vision boards, and I went online of 100 things that you could do from your home. And I sent it out to my students, and they came back, and I still remember those presentations they had done of what their vision boards were really all about. And we created speeches, and we did table topics. If you were a first responder and someone had come in with this, what would you have done, or how would you have gone ahead and handled this? And you're running out of a burning building, what would go ahead and happen in this situation? And really, I remember my students said at the end of the semester, it was like a family. And they said it's just so amazing of how everything is going on and happening. It was just absolutely beautiful. That's
a wonderful way to get people going on things with vision boards. I help people create vision boards to revitalize their life, and even I call it avatar board, that will give them, drive an emotion of what they want to look like in the future. So that's wonderful. So vision boards are
No,
great to inspire
it
people.
was it was just a great way to encapsulate what was going on. And they said that, I created a family for them, and they really felt that they had a sense. Some had to go and work at the markets or things like that, that they had to go out to work, and they were absolutely mandated, and talked about that experience, and they brought their roommates involved in it. And it was, that group of people, when the pandemic first came out, were such a special class. And then I remember a high school class that I had that, imagine teaching a class and you're like the 12 squares, and you got 12 squares and 10 of them are black. And okay, and you couldn't make them turn on their lights. You couldn't make them turn on their lights. Or there was one kid in the school who had had some issues, and he'd go in his bedroom and he'd be on his bed, and he'd be on the bottom of the bunk bed going ahead and taking the class. And they said the reason that you couldn't mandate that people have their cameras on is there might be some discrimination of where one person lived versus where another person lived, in this, that, and the other.
Sense.
And that's the reason that you couldn't mandate that their cameras be on. But still, imagine if you're going ahead and you're giving a speech and you're trying to overcome your fear, and you've got the Hollywood squares of all black boxes.
Yeah, I get it. You're talking to a wall.
Literally a wall.
Yeah.
Yep. So
now you have written books too. What are your key themes for your books, and what inspired you to write them?
Well, my first book that I wrote was it was a book that was titled, it was about random acts of kindness or change in the world. And it was about those random acts of kindness. And I had been to Las Vegas and visited the place in Henderson where the factory was, Zappos. And in Zappos, they had a wall. And on the wall, they had all these things about kindness and things like that. So I had taken them. I came back and I was so impressed with that. You got to sit in a chair and be captain for the day and so forth. And I thought that was so neat. And when I came back and told my students, it was amazing how they had just really responded to it. And I said, well, if you guys don't want to do this, we can go ahead and stop. And they said, no, we like them. And as I read the stories, I was so taken aback that I would share them with each and every person that I came in contact with. And that was the first book that was called Random Acts of Kindness or Change in the World. A beautiful, beautiful story. The next one was called Dogs and Roses. It was a book that I had gotten depressed, and my life coach asked me, what makes you happy? And I said, dogs and roses. And so, when I have a tough time, I'll go out and look at the roses, and they'll talk to me and I'll talk to them. And the dogs that we have, they bring you happiness. So there were all sorts of dogs and all sorts of roses, and they were pictures of my photography. I always enjoy taking pictures, and that was that one. The next one was A Message for Tomorrow's Leaders. And that was a book that was written about the time of the pandemic, when the schools had shut down and there was the riots and things like that. And it was getting people to hold on to their truth and be who they were and not incited to violence by what they saw around them. And there was going to be a poster board contest of helping students out. And so instead of inviting people to my classroom, I went ahead and interviewed a bunch of people to tell their stories of how they could inspire students. And there was one guy who came in on a day that there was a kid, it was a high school, and high school shootings, and had lost his lives. And he was talking about empowering these kids. And his message to them was, keep fighting, stand up for what you believe in, and don't let others get you down. And it was interesting being in those high school classes and seeing things that were different than you might see on the college campus.
Yes.
But had interviewed him, and he had his message of inspiration and hope. And then the last one was called A Captivating Speaker, that was going ahead and helping people out on the art of public speaking. And they usually come out about 3 years. I don't plan them as it's 3 years, it's time to write a book. It's just they happen.
Well, those are wonderful. And the pandemic was pandemic was a hard time. And I know that whenever I ran out, I just would wave at people to just say hi. And they were like, oh, hi. And I told the story before, but my whole point is, to this day, all my neighbors say hi to me when I run. So that's why,
Wow.
a little act of kindness is really important. And everything you did was very important for that time period. Now, very quickly, before we get into your offer, how has your role of a ambassador of world peace influenced your work and your perspective on global issues?
Well, one of the things that's really interesting was I was given the title of Ambassador for Peace with this peace organization that's here in Los Angeles. And I remember one of the shows I had done was going to LA when they had captured all those hostages, and being a part of it there, going ahead and seeing one of the survivors who had survived that incident in Israel, and listening to their story. And remember encouraging my students when there was the uprising in Ukraine and Russia, they would do a gathering of clothes and things like that, and getting people to talk about those issues that are so hard and so difficult, or going ahead and meeting people in current times that are from Russia and having a conversation and know that they're not the president of the country. They're just people who happen to grow up and live there, and having a sense of sensitivity to really what it's all about, and allowing people to voice their opinions. I mean, there was so much that recently has gone to happen, and since that, with students on the college campuses, and how vicious and cruel people can be, and giving them a chance to be heard is really tough and hard.
Everyone is different. They really need to just realize that, it's okay to be different, and it's okay to live somewhere else. They're here now, and they need to live a peaceful life like everybody else. So we just need to put out a helping hand rather than criticize, or anything about bullying. I completely agree with you on that.
Nope. Everybody has a family, a mother, a father, a kid, and a brother, and some not so much, but they're all family, and we have to respect those families and who they are.
And everybody has a different, family history as well, and respect where they came from. And you can't help what your ancestors have done, but you can help what you do.
Right. That's right. We all have our own position and our own place that we can place in the world, and we can make a difference. We don't need to necessarily follow in their footsteps and things like that.
Exactly. And there's so many things we can do to uplift people's souls, rather just waving hello and say hello, hi, or even,
exactly.
Or give back. Like, you gather some clothes. I've done that too, where the clothes I gathered went to Nicaragua. So my whole point is there's always something you can do to better someone's life. A smile can better someone's life. Simple gestures like that. Some people work in the soup kitchen. Some people do other volunteer work. And, it's interesting. College students have to do at least 200 hours of volunteer work to really get accepted to a college. And people don't even really realize that these days. But it really gives them a different perspective on life when they do that.
Yeah, it's so amazing when you do things for other people. It really changes your perspective of who you are and what it's all about.
Exactly. Because you see world what they came from, and you have, becomes more empathetic with them and relate to them. And maybe that's a passion that somebody wants to do as a job. Maybe that's, maybe they want to do something, regarding in politics or laws or whatever they do. But the whole point is that we need to make our world better. And that's peace, the surroundings, and everything going on in our world.
No, definitely. You hit it on the nose. We've all got to figure out ways that we can make it a better place through simple things of saying hi to neighbors and going ahead and connecting. I remember one day I was off at the park and seeing how many people, as I was walking around the track, that I could get to smile and smile back at me. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you have for our audience today?
What I'd like to go ahead and offer to people is, if they mention that they saw you and I on the show today, everyone needs to learn that art of public speaking, whether that's a job that they're getting or a special talk that they need to give in their company or something like that, that I'm willing to offer people a 15-minute coaching session to help them get some clarity on what they might want to say and how they might want to go about that. They can go to my page, RosalynKahn.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, on all those different platforms. And that's what I'm willing to go ahead and offer. And sometimes 15 minutes can be enough to go ahead and do it all.
Very true. Very true. And, it's more, being a public speaker is not something. I'm an introvert. Wasn't something I was very, wanted to do. I have a tendency to be dyslexic and reverse words and to forget words and things like that. But I've learned to overcome obstacles. I mean, when I first started my show, that's how I faced it. It's just doing it. And being a public speaker will help you also actually present better in businesses, right? And
right,
also
help your businesses.
In life, yeah. So, because it gives you more confidence to do these things. So, reach out to Rosalyn for her offer. It's a wonderful offer to get going on. And Rosalyn, do you want to be on my show again?
Oh my God, you are such a beautiful host. I'd love to come back and have that opportunity to tell you what's going on, what's happening. The world is changing so much in our world around us. God never knows where we might be, but I'd love to keep you updated. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, that's great. So I will have you again, and please stick around because I need to, say some things, and then we'll have more time for closing remarks. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, remember, I do revitalize people's lives in many different areas of health and mindset. I do help you correct your gut, which will give you mental clarity. And I guide you to clean, toxic-free foods and high-quality essential nutrients that will help you, which are products that will help you reduce symptoms. You'll feel better and be more productive, possibly lose weight. It'll uplift your mood. With my mindset coaching, I do help you reshape and remold your core beliefs, release stress, reduce emotions and entanglements from the past. Your mindset will become enhanced. And with my health optimization and my weight release, your body will be more efficient. So ask me about my programs at my complimentary consultation button at my link tree, which is Debi Changes Lives, DebiChangesLives, as in victory, es.com/linktree, LINKTREE. And I'll guide you to your optimal health. And, it starts off with getting to know me, and I get to know you. And I do have 2 health assessments where I do guide you towards your health. And the first one is the health evaluation, and it's complimentary, where you rate your symptoms in the last 30 days in 4 categories of health. Some questions are repeated. Please answer them all. You'll get a health score. I do review it with you. If you move forward with my services, I'll create that custom natural holistic strategy to help you through your journey. And we'll do this on a monthly basis. And I have 2 different body Zyto scans. And pretty much that you have to do on a monthly basis too. I prefer to do the Zyto link because I can send a link remotely, internationally, and actually sent one to South Africa. Zyto is a transdermal optical imaging app that I send a link to your phone. You scan your face for 30 seconds, and it's only looking at blood flow for components of energetic, functional, emotional, and different body systems and lifestyles. It creates a wellness reports of biomarkers at a range and products and services that bring it back into range. I do review it with you because it's quite intensive. Right now, the cost of the Zyto link is $50. It will go up next year. And if you move forward with any of my programs or products, I give you a $25 discount on one of them. Now, Zyto is a transdermal optical imaging app, and also known as TOI, and you can look up those terms on pubmed.gov to see how accurate transdermal optical imaging is. As well as I have a package of 5 scans where you can save, for the price of 4, we can save $50, and that may go up next year as well. People are really amazed what their body tells them in the scan, and you'll be too. So if you're curious, get your first Zyto scan now. And also on the site are my programs, which will be the next slide. And these are just 3 of them. Take Your Body Back is a weight release mindset coaching program where you're utilizing a new version of you to drive you to succeed. All coaching is done on Zoom, and the first one's private to you because I go over your health. I give you the choice between 2 different meal plans. You get directions on one, and I also give you instructions on creating that new version of you in an avatar board that'll drive you with emotion and passion to achieve your health and weight transformational goals throughout your journey. The rest of the coaching, whether you're in private or in group coaching, we'll be celebrating your wins, and I'll get you over your gaps with health and mindset tips. You will become a new you. And you can get more details by asking me questions, as well as looking on my show button. You want to go back a little bit? Show button on my link tree for holistic self-love. Now remember, the price has gone up. Why? That's that intermittent fasting program that gets your cells and body humming and in turn boosts your metabolism with rich, dense nutrition and high-quality essential nutrients. As a program of recipes and exercises. Remember, intermittent fasting will help repair your cells, bring down inflammation, and uplift your mood. If you feel like you need to ask me questions, that's what this consultation is all about. But if you need maybe some additional coaching, there's smaller programs like 2 or 4 week programs that you can use. And you can even purchase more as you go along. You can also use these smaller programs for mindset enhancement coaching as well as health optimization. But truly, those are longer journeys. So you probably want to use the longer programs, but I can also create a custom program for you. And for a limited time, I'm offering Debi's Coaching Chats, which is a 30-minute complimentary consultation, a meeting actually, session in an intimate group setting. It survey picks a topic and it's not recorded. You'll learn how to optimize your health, ways to release stress and emotions, efficiently release weight, how to harmonize hormones for body balance, creating that winning mindset, using that mindset for your health and weight transformations, and creating that new version of you in an avatar board that'll drive you with motion and passion to achieve your health and weight goals throughout your journey. These meetings are 4 o'clock on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you want to register at Debi Changes Lives. That's DebiChangesLive as in Victory ES.com/chats, and you'll learn what my coaching is all about. And finally, learn more about alternative health programs, products, and services, upcoming shows, events, and promos by subscribing to my newsletter, which is at DebiChangesLives.com. But this time, /radio TV show, all in lowercase as one word. And I'll give you a gift, a 30-day health and mindset daily action journal where you can record your gratitudes, feelings, thoughts, and emotions, as well as the food that you ate, water you drank, nutritional products you took, and exercise you've done on a daily basis, and record your measurements. You want to view it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to see your wins and celebrate them, see your gaps to work on. If you need help bridging your gap, you contact me for coaching. I'm certainly found this show educational, inspiring, and I've enjoyed it. Reach out to me for my programs, products, and services, and reach out to Rosalyn for her coaching and offer. Do we have time to have Rosalyn come back?
Oh, it's so great to be back here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So do you have any closing remarks?
Well, it was just wonderful being on your show. I love the way that you host your show. You're interactive, the way that you tell your stories and you engage the audience, and your positive spin that you put on this. It was just a pleasure and honor being here. And I celebrate the fact that you have your TV show, and it seems like it's got a great response, and I know it's going to take off and do extraordinarily well.
Well, thank you. And yes, you'll be back again. And that's wonderful comments that you just made. So I have to close it off now. So continue to enjoy my radio and TV show, Debi Changes Lives, at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, where your holistic journey begins.